Hey everyone, welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 43, April the 15th, 2017. Well. Of course, it's a holiday, and the big news came yesterday, as I mentioned to you, with the release of this leak to The Guardian regarding the fact that GCHQ, someone leaking to Guardian that GCHQ did in fact involve themselves, as well as many other countries, Estonia, Germany, France, New Zealand, Australia, the Netherlands, in spying on Trump, people around Trump, regarding incidental communications with Russian agents, whatever that means. Now, as I said yesterday, the important thing about this story is the timing. If you've paid attention to how these things work over the years, you know that there's sometimes when you need to leak a story, there's two things you're going for. Either you're trying to leak a story, you want to leak a story, you need to leak a story, and you want it to get major headlines. So the timing is important in how you do that. And sometimes you need to get a story leaked out there, but you really don't want anyone paying attention to it. You just need to get it out there so that you can fall back on it at some point when you're being questioned. You can say, yes, but this is not anything new. I mean, this information came out. It's public. It's been examined. People looked at it. It's been investigated. It means nothing. Classic Clinton. Believe me, the Clintons and the Obamas right now, as well as for their behalf, as well as other people, Susan Rice, Loretta Lynch, Brennan, these people right now know that they have got their tit in a ringer. They weren't supposed to lose the election. None of this was supposed to happen. And as I said yesterday, what's obviously going on here, if you go back to how this thing has played out and you see where we are now, they finally had to come out and admit, yes, there was surveillance, but it was not political. That's their fallback position now. But they know that when the committees that are reviewing this take a look at those applications on those FISA warrants, they're going to find out whether or not it was political or not. That's what is being stonewalled right now. The FBI, the Department of Justice, the intelligence agencies don't want that to get into the committee's hands because they know it's going to reveal that there was no real probable cause or reasonable suspicion to be unmasking these names, and that it's going to unveil that it was a political operation. They are now needing cover, and they're looking to their friends across the pond to help pull their chestnuts out of the fire. Unfortunately, this is probably not going to happen. They need it. At this point, they're grasping for straws. They know that this is big and it's going to break, and it's going to have devastating consequences for the previous administration. The cat is out of the bag. This was never supposed to happen, but it is happening, and they are clearly terrified. You can tell by what they're doing. And so the timing's everything. They leaked this the day. This is exactly how you do it. If you want to leak a story and you don't want to get much play, you leak it late in the afternoon, the day before a big American holiday such as Easter, which involves Good Friday, a 3-day weekend, a time when people aren't paying attention, they aren't watching TV, they're planning things with their family, they got travel arrangements. People, it's this very slow, almost dead news cycle. That's exactly when you leak this type of stuff. That's why I know that this is part of a play that goes with the larger narrative to try to give them some defense, so that when they sit there in front of that hearing, they can say, yes, well, we didn't start this investigation. We were contacted by foreign governments, specifically in this case the UK government, telling us that there was these things that they had learned through incidental collection, and they gave the investigation to us. We just simply took over the investigation because we were told we should look into this stuff. So this is their out. This is how they believe that they're going to be able to weasel off the hook, because they know that the U.S. Congress does not have the authority to require anyone from the GCHQ or from the UK government to appear in their hearings. This kind of throws a wrench into the spokes. It's a stonewalling move. It's the last fallback position that they have. There's nowhere else really they can go from here. And this tells you this thing is coming to a head. Now, these hearings will resume on the 25th. And I'm sure right now there are several members, particularly people like Trey Gowdy, who are licking their chops. Because if you remember back to the Benghazi hearings, you could see the look on Trey Gowdy's face. He knew that Susan Rice was lying directly to his face. He knew she was lying to his face, time and time again, really, when she was being questioned in Benghazi. And you could tell Trey Gowdy wasn't happy, and he's going to get another crack at her. And I expect that Mr. Gowdy is going to climb up her ass and stretch out because he's getting another crack at her, and now he's really got someplace he can go with this. And she's on the hook. I mean, I don't see how Rice gets off the hook. She cannot really refuse to appear, and if she does, they'll subpoena her. If she doesn't show up after a subpoena, I mean, it just looks bad. It's almost like it makes her look even more guilty. And then they just simply go to the next person in the chain. They'll subpoena Obama, you know. And so she knows that there's only one person that there's nobody essentially between her and Obama. She is the one that's going to have to go there. If there was someone between her and Obama, she would have a fallback position. She would be able to get someone else to fall on the sword. If they could drop it on someone lower level, they could. But this is such high level stuff that there's no one else really who can fill that role. And really, her and Loretta Lynch and John Brennan are the three who are kind of in a triangle here of the people who are going to have to answer the questions, because it goes all the way to their level. They can't blame it on an underling, and they're not going to refuse to comply and force the committee to subpoena Obama. Of course, he would never show up, but just the very fact that he would be subpoenaed puts his name in the headlines where he doesn't want it. So he's going to do everything he can to make sure that these three people show up to those hearings. They're just going to try to find every way possible to defend them. But it's hard to defend the indefensible. And in this case, they'll be facing a hostile committee, much more hostile even than the Benghazi committee. And again, as I said yesterday when this came out, this is going to be much, much bigger now, because ultimately what's going to happen as these investigations move forward, the old narrative of, well, this was all about Trump colluding with Russia and Putin and that type of thing, that's going to just fall away to the wayside. This is much bigger. Even the surveillance of Trump is going to fall away to the wayside, although it'll still have some integrity and it'll still get some play, and there will still be a lot of emphasis placed on this by members, Republican members, certainly on the team, on the committees. But this is now gone much, much bigger. Like I said yesterday, I mean, this really takes this to a much different level, because now this goes to the issue, a much larger issue, and that was the entire intelligence community, not just here in the United States, but around the world, involving multiple countries participating in a political operation to take down a presidential candidate, and then once he was elected, to discredit him, to destroy him. This is much bigger than Watergate, much, much bigger. And this is going to become the larger question. And it's going to put the heads of all these intelligence agencies, as well as James Comey, Loretta Lynch, in serious jeopardy. Very, very serious jeopardy. And this is why when Trump tweeted out that Saturday, I looked at this thing for about 2 days, and I said, you know what? You know, this thing is much bigger than what we're just seeing now. It's about much more than people listening to Trump or what have you. I knew then it was much bigger. I lived through Watergate. I was about 11 years old, maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, and I was glued to the TV every day during the Watergate hearings. You have to remember, you had the president had to resign or he would have been impeached. You had 2 attorney generals went to jail. You had chief of staff went to jail. 22 other people in the organization that ran the re-election campaign for Richard Nixon. His personal lawyer would have gone to jail, John Dean, had he not been the rat that eventually brought the House down. 22 people, and including the highest ranking people in the country. So this was a big deal. And I watched those hearings. I was glued to the TV. It was an extraordinary time in history, and I was fascinated by it. And then, of course, I read every book on it, including 2 of Dean's books, which were hard to get through because they were so full of BS. Liddy's book was actually pretty straight. I think that was good. book. I read about 5 or 6 books, and then of course, if you guys want to see a really good movie that is pretty close to being accurate as to what really happened in Watergate, I highly recommend that you go watch. It's an older movie, but it's a really good movie. It has Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman and a bunch of other A-list actors of that day, and I think it's from 1974 or 75, but it's kind of mid to late 70s movie, but it's really a good movie, and it really does a good job of walking you through the entire 2.5 years of what happened in Watergate. And it's called All the President's Men. All the President's Men. You can watch it free on YouTube. Just type in watch movie All the President's Men, free and online, and you'll see a couple listings. Click on it. It's a really good movie. I highly recommend you watch it if you're interested in this. So anyway, on this, after the second day that I saw that tweet and I looked at this thing, something told me it was a gut thing, a guttural reaction, that this is much bigger. And that's why I started doing the TowerGate videos, because I wanted to follow this story every single day and almost create like a video diary, so that when this thing finally plays itself out, it could be 2 years, it could be longer, that I can go back and look at all my TowerGate videos day by day and see how everything played itself out. So essentially, I am creating a daily diary of this sordid tale as it plays itself out, and ultimately, again, as I've said in previous videos, you hardly ever see people held accountable in these situations, but some things are just so big that some people, and there's so much evidence out there, it stinks so bad that someone has to fall on the sword. And in the case of Watergate, you know, it went all the way to the top. 2 attorney generals, the chief of staff, all the people to campaign to re-elect, all the guys that creep, the whole 9 yards. Lots and lots of people, heavy players, big-time political insiders, all went down in that game. Of course, they didn't have the establishment backing them. Nixon, in fact, was a target of the establishment. I never really figured out exactly why, but I'm certain there were reasons for it. So, what is going on right now behind the scenes? Well, let me tell you what's going on behind the scenes right now. All the Republican members on the 2 committees that are looking into this right now, I promise you that they have multiple investigators looking into each and every one of these guys, trying to find anything that they could use to any information they can get on them to try to shut these guys up. It's called extortion. So they're going to try to get some information and try to extort them and take them down, just like they did Nunes. But you've got some guys on that committee. They may get a couple of them. You know, they may have like you know, prostitutes or something. They may have a little, you know, doing a little drugs here and there. They may be involved in some criminal banking, some offshore bank accounts, some shady dealings. They might be able to be successful with a few of these guys, but they're not going to get them all. And I think when you get guys like Trey Gowdy, he's a pretty clean player. I don't think they'll find anything on him. But right now, there is a very serious effort to investigate these Republican members so that they can be extorted into helping to cover this thing up. Because again, this is going to be much bigger than just a little surveillance on Trump. Much bigger than whether or not there were Russians involved with Trump people or anything like that. This is going to be much bigger than that. It's going to go to the very question of whether or not the overall intelligence communities, working with a political party, working with a political campaign, working with the media, working with foreign intelligence to sabotage a presidential candidate, and even after he was in office, having won the election and on his way to being inaugurated and taking over, trying to take him out. Folks, this is a big deal. And yesterday was a turning point. They leaked it before Good Friday so that it would get as little attention as possible. But I promise you, there are members on those committees that in 2 weeks, when they come back sometime around the 25th and they resume these hearings, we're going to start seeing some fireworks. And this is going to be their fallback position, is that they're going to say that they didn't initiate the investigation, that it was initiated because foreign intelligence agencies tipped them off or told them that they should look into this, knowing good and well that you can't really question these people. And if those people in the UK think that their cover. They think, well, yeah, they can't subpoena us. We can just sit back here and pull cover for them and play defense, and because they can't subpoena us, we don't have to say anything. No, 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 no. It is true that we probably can't force them to come and testify in front of Congress, but there is going to be a lot of questions, and now they're going to be caught up in this. They're going to find their own scandals, and as a result of this, they're going to have other things come out of that they're going to have to deal with domestically with their citizens. They didn't do themselves any favor. All they did was jump into a barrel of monkeys, hot monkeys, with hot pokers getting rammed up their ass, and now they are also just brought themselves into something that they don't want to be a part of, and this is not going to go well for them either. Don't know who leaked this, but it was leaked to the Guardian shortly after the Daily Mail. It's certainly someone probably in intelligence agencies, and they were probably pressured to do so by Obama. I mean, this is a last resort sort of thing. You don't come out and admit as an intelligence agency that you did something like this. You don't come out and say, yeah, we contacted a foreign government because we had been listening to a presidential candidate in a foreign country's election, and we gave information to this foreign government that could be harmful to that candidate. I mean, this is not something that you want. This is not something that you want to go public. It's not something you want to volunteer. And clearly it was, because they had the opportunity 2 weeks ago when Napolitano was on TV and made this statement, and they came out and gave denials. And now all of a sudden they leaked this. Believe me, they didn't want to do this. They were forced to do this, and it's going to bite them in the ass. One other thing before I get off here, I'm going to provide a link in the description box for a 2-minute and 52-second video you really want to watch. Because on about March the 15th, Judge Napolitano went on Fox News, and he said that he had 3 sources that told him that Obama turned to GCHQ, which is the British version of the NSA, and asked them to get this surveillance, to get this information for him. This is what he says. Then the very next day, CNN does this 2-minute and 52-second interview excuse me, with one of their reporters who deals with intelligence and things like that, and they basically try to counter what Napolitano says, to the extent of saying, yeah, well, I talked to my sources in the British intelligence community, of which I have many, and they say this is crazy, this is nonsense, this is just Trump being a crazy man again. All that Napolitano, he's a whack job. So they do a hit job on Napolitano, and they call into question what he said, and they try to debunk it. That video was done one day after Napolitano was on Fox. So I'll put the link in the description. That video, as you'll see the date on it, was uploaded on the 16th. I believe it was uploaded that same day. It had to be because Napolitano was on the 15th. So on the 15th, Napolitano's on Fox giving this information, which yielded him a 7 to 10 day suspension. He now has been vindicated. The very next day, you got a CIA boy interviewing his CNN intelligence guy, and he tells them this is all bunk. And you can watch the video. It's absolutely, but when you watch what the denial is, again, you have to look at how they're denying this stuff. His denial is that, oh, well, they absolutely 100% deny that they were used by the Obama administration to do this spying for them. This is absurd. So again, it's almost like saying, yeah, well, wiretap? That's crazy. We didn't wiretap Trump. This is all crazy talk. He's a nut. But surveillance? Eavesdropping? Spying? Oh yeah, we did all that. We just didn't do wiretapping. Wiretapping is when you clip the alligator clips on the terminals in the mechanical room where the phone system's mounted and listen with the butt set. We didn't do that. Oh, we did surveil, we did eavesdrop, we did spy, but we didn't wiretap. It's the same thing. It's parsing words. And this is what you got to look at very, very carefully when you're dealing with these kind of slicksters. So, I highly recommend you click on that link in the description, watch the CNN video, and I think you'll be fairly well amused. And, of course, you should comment as well. And, okay, that looks like where we are. Drip, drip, drip. Thank you all for tuning in. TowerGate, day 43, April 15th, 2017. You guys enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Don't eat too many of them eggs or anything else. And we will see you back here tomorrow. Take care. Bye.